If you think your background is holding you back to get started, you need to hear this. I was 9 years old when I left my home country, Pakistan, and went to Malaysia as a refugee. I started going to school and started to play soccer as my hobby. And when I was 15 years old, I broke my hand. However, after that, I could not play soccer because my hand was broken and it was too risky for me to continue on playing soccer. And at the age of 16, I became a soccer coach, and I felt like I could not do it because the rest of the coaches were older age and I had no experience talking to the kids. However, I did not give up because my passion was playing soccer and I wanted to continue something in that field. And from there, I learned how to run your own ads for the clients, how to find your clients, and started building my sales skills. It wasn't easy for me to open up my own company, open up my own bank account as a refugee living in Malaysia because it is illegal to even do a 9 to 5 job there. However, I was really blessed for the people that I had, for the people who helped me out to get started with this. I started asking help from the people around me and the rest of the coaches to help me out how to guide the children, how to give soccer drills to them. And when I was 16 years old, while going to high school, I started my own company, A&B Global Media. And I had no guidance how to get started, how to do marketing, how to build a website for someone. And I took my first ever mentorship when I was 16 years old, and I used my coaching income to pay for my mentorship. I was able to register my own company, and I was able to sign my first client after 6 months. I used to call about 100 to 120 every single day while going to school. And I did not have my client after 100 or 200 or 300 calls. It was after thousands of calls. I had a lot of meetings, however, I was not able to close any of it. 6 months consistently going without any income, without any hopes, or without anything that I was hoping for, I did not receive. And in order for me to sign my first client, I needed to open up my company and I needed my business bank account. And I needed to make a contract as well as a 16 years old. However, as a refugee, I cannot do it all, so I found people who helped me, which was my soccer coach. And I'm really blessed he said yes. So we were actually able to make the contract, and it took us about 3 to 4 weeks while having chat with the client that we still need more time. We still working on that and etc. because I have never made a contract in my entire life. And once we make the contract, we still had to go a couple of steps in order for it to make it and present to the client. And the client I had wanted to meet physically, and I did not have any transportation, of course, because as a refugee you cannot even have a car there, right? So I again called my coach and needed help for the transportation so I could go and meet the client physically. And when we made the contract, we had a deal to work together for 9 months. So for 6 months, I was not able to sign any client. However, once I signed my first client, it was for 9 months straight. And Honestly, I did not know if I could even bring him the results because I have never really signed a client for marketing agency, right? So we bring him the contract and he signed the contract and my first deal was for about 2000 ringgit. Got my first ever payment, right? And that was one of the most happiest moment when I was able to sign my first client after 6 months without any hopes. So if you're in a phase where you keep going and you do not see any result, the sign for you to keep going and the motivation that you should be having to keep going is that I am gonna reach it. If not, I do not have any other path to choose. And after a couple of my payments, after I closed a couple of other clients, I was able to buy my own phone by myself. And I bought iPhone 15 at that time. That was the latest phone. And bought a couple of more things that helped me with my content and helped me um, with my agency that I was running at that time. And soon enough, by the will of Allah, we were able to move to the next country, which is where I am now in Canada, after 9 years spending life in Malaysia as a refugee. And it's a beautiful country, and they really love the people there. Everything is good, but you do not want to be refugee there, right? So I came to Canada, and I did not wanted to go to the high school, and I did not have any choice but to continue what I was doing, which was my marketing agency. And at that time, I was still running some of the project for the Malaysia clients, so I had to wake up in the middle of the night and finish my projects and finish my tasks at what I was supposed to do. And when I came to Canada, I was able to sign my first ever client. And I did not make any cold call. I did not have people here that really knew me. So it was a networking event. I went there and chit chat with people, and I was able to meet a guy. He was running his own agency, and then after a couple of weeks, he called me. He said he needed some help with the ads. So after that, I was struggling to land a client in Canada because of my accent. And also, I wanted to go in high ticket sales, but I had no experience like what I mentioned when I was back in Malaysia. I used to have a lot of meetings, about 3 to 4 meetings in a day, and I was not able to close any of them. Imagine for the 6 months I was getting the meetings, I do not know what's going wrong, I do not know what to do, and after 6 months only I was able to sign up a client, right? So now I want to get into high ticket sales, but I have no experience in high ticket sales. I do not know how exactly it works. So I went to YouTube search and learned there myself, and then I joined a mentorship again. And after joining the mentorship, I was still not able to land a role for about 6 months. And it wasn't because of my skills, it was because of my accent. I tried for 4 to 5 months and went to every single class that my mentorship was having, and every class was that I still need to improve my accent to get on a role. It took me about 5 to 6 months figuring things out myself to get my accent aligned. However, at the end, I was going to give up. But I knew I had no choice. I'm not going to the school. I'm not going to university. And before I give up, I landed a role in the company that was new and just started a new offer in US market. I went to the role, and in my first week ever I was able to output all the other setter, and I was able to have a better performance than them. And in my second week I was I had an opportunity to actually coach that setter team, right? However, things did not go very well with the offer, so they had to stop that offer, and I had to. We all the setter and all the team have to move forward with another role and leave the company. And then it took, and then again started applying for the roles, but however, I did not find any role because my biggest bottleneck was my accent. And then I finally took the step to hire an accent coach, and in my first week ever I landed a role. It was pretty hard for me to get things and understand how things are moving. However, by the help of my mentors, I was able to get the role moving forward. And in my third week I was able to 3x the other seller, and I was able to have 10k pounds cash collected in my first month and got my first paycheck in high ticket sales, and it was four figures. And that was one of the most happiest moment for me, coming from the journey that I did not know what to do. I did not have a proper guidance. And you, as an entrepreneur, you do not know where the end is. Where are the things that are gonna go align with you, or that are gonna give you a lot of roadblocks? So, if you're in that situation, the best thing is to move forward. The best thing is to keep going without hoping for an output, right? Focus on the input, and there is no way you do not get the output. You will get sooner or later. And while applying for the roles, I did have bad experience, and things happen, but I still kept going. And there were people who supported me. There were people, my coaches, and the circle that I was in told me to keep going beside what has happened, beside I was not able to land a role and all of that stuff, right? So if you think you're in a situation where you're helpless, remember Alex Hermos's quote: work so hard that it is impossible for you to fail. So, no matter what situation you're in, no matter where you are in life, whether you're from the third world country or you are from Africa or whatever country, whatever background you have, whatever things that has happened to you, put that aside and focus on the input without expecting or hoping for the output. The journey has just started for me, and there is a lot more to go. There is a lot more to learn, and there is a lot more to achieve.